Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona DCS.
I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
How we doing, Rob?
Pretty good, man. Long time. Haven't talked to you in a while. How you been?
Yes, sir. I've been doing well. Thank you for asking.
That's good.
I actually, this topic is right up your alley, man. And finally we got to when this is like your expertise. If there's anybody that knows about blowing and sucking hot air, it's you. We're going to talk about vacuums on this episode. And you've sucked for a long time, haven't you there, Rob?
Yeah, let's talk about how you got your way to the top. Maybe we shouldn't go there.
All right. Vacuum cleaners. We've come out with a new vacuum cleaner.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been seeing it around a lot lately, and I'm going to rely on your expertise. Because I haven't actually seen I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in progress yet. I haven't seen it working. So I want to learn something on this episode as well.
Man, you are going to learn a ton, as your partner in crime, G. Pierre, would say. You're going to learn a S-ton.
Can I tell you something?
Remember when he said that in front of the sales meeting there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He used it again this week. I was working with him this week, and I said, man, that is definitely your go-to phrase.
Well, okay, so we're going to talk about vacuum cleaners, and I'll give you a little history on vacuum cleaners real quick. Did you know that I think the first one was invented by Hubert Cecil Booth in England in 1901, and it was pulled by a horse and carriage. It was so big. Can you believe that? And only the wealthiest people could afford it. And at first, it didn't suck. It blew. It got like an air blast that dislodged and blow dust into a receptacle. Then later on in St. Louis, Missouri. The same thing that was pulled by horse and carriage. This guy went into business charging $4 per visit to come and vacuum someone's house, and he was pretty successful doing that. Isn't that amazing?
So it wasn't that the horse was brought inside of the house.
No, you eat it, as my
just towed it
mother-in-law
there.
would say.
So it was like it was the original Bona atomic trailer system.
Yes, the thing was massive. There's actually some cool pictures on the internet that maybe I can share with that. It's pretty slick, man. But you can imagine that like only the wealthiest people could afford a vacuum cleaner. Actually, before vacuum cleaners, it was what do you call those sweepers like? And it was it didn't have the suction feature at all. It was invented by Melville Bissell in 1876 after his wife complained about sawdust in the Grand Rapids, Michigan crockery shop they owned, and her husband died in 1889, and Anna Bissell took over the company, becoming America's first female CEO.
You know what I'm going to start doing?
What, Rob?
And I know you've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now. So when we say, "Oh, we're gonna do a show on vacs," okay, I'll just say, "Okay, yeah, we'll do a show on vacs."
Okay,
and then do nothing. You, on the other hand, we're gonna do a show on vacuums. You get out there and start researching the history of vacuums or the history of whatever we're going to talk about. You seem to really, I think I got to start stepping my game up.
I will be nothing if not prepared, Rob.
I guess so.
If that is my calling card, brother.
That is it. I guess you're right.
But I'm not done with this knowledge. I got two more interesting. I thought these were interesting.
Please keep laying it on us, man.
But
this is why people tune in.
See, when I know I don't have anything to add to the show because you have all the information, this way I get to keep talking. But I thought this is just a couple of real quick things here. If you look at where they were back then, Now you look at today, Dyson came out with what they call the G-Force, which is a vacuum cleaner that's become a status symbol. It costs $2,000. That's pretty amazing where they've come. And now then from there they've got their Rombos. What do they call them? The Rombos by iRobot company. Which, by the way, I think if you look into the future, way into the future, I wouldn't be surprised if a floor sander was run the same way one day.
You know something? Were you at the sales meeting when they broke us into groups? And we had to come up with new ideas. Remember?
Yes.
It was what was the one? I think it was in Cancun or something. That sales meeting. Well, Jordan from Canada and myself, we thought we came up with it. And that was the exact thing we were talking about. It was like a Roomba machine. And everybody misunderstood. We didn't get our point across. It wasn't that I was saying the Roomba machine was going to do the sanding.
Mm-hmm.
My idea was I coat a gym, right? Now I go back, I got to abrade it.
Yeah.
And it takes how many guys, right? Imagine if you had a couple of Roomba type machines out there just doing the light abrasion and cleaning of the gym. Eliminate all that, then you come in and coat it. So, yeah, that's my idea. We came up with that years ago. We were laughed out of the building.
Probably by me.
Yeah, I think you probably led the charge on that.
I didn't get the concept very good at those blue sky type of situations when we sat in a round table and they said, "Okay, you guys, anything's on the table. Come up with anything that you think would work. That's something the industry would need years down the road." And I'm around a bunch of younger guys, some of the younger TMs that just weren't with us very long. And anytime someone would offer something up, I go, "What are you, stupid?
What is that? That'll never work."
Hey, yeah, you get out of here.
That'll never work.
I don't think that was the spirit of the whole thing. But
in the other life that you and I were in before we came to this life, I remember they had a blue sky meeting, and they said, just whatever you want, I remember we're all at the meeting and they're like, whatever you want, just throw something out there at us. So I said, when it came to be my turn, I remember saying, how about a one coat fin, just one coat,
Mm-hmm.
It's the sealer, it's the coating, it's just, you just get the floor sanded and it's one coat. And there was a lab guy in the room, and the first thing he says, well, you can't have that because blah, blah, blah. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. You just told me that
you can have anything.
You wanted it or not. You're going to shoot holes in it?
Yeah.
I'll just sit in the back then. I won't say anything.
Yeah.
I don't think he understood the blue sky concept.
Sometimes I'm not, not kind of savvy on stuff like that, because I live in the real, me. I lived in a small town in Kentucky, and a tornado came through the town, a devastating tornado. It was one of the worst tornadoes that's ever come up through the Ohio Valley. And many homes were destroyed, okay? Bear with me on this, okay?
This is
awful.
The worst. This is the worst country song I've ever heard in my life. Nobody laughs at this part.
No, it was. I mean, houses were destroyed, and it was awful. So I was like 13
in a funny way, according to you.
No, yeah, I think I was 14 years old, and the local radio station said, "Okay, we're going to do like an auction thing. You know what I mean? The local stores are going to auction off, different things, and you can bid on them." And the money's going to go towards the people with the damaged homes and what have you. And in between, for filler, they would auction off a case of Coke, okay? And they were going for like $7, $8, $6, whatever. Bottled Coke, 16-ounce bottled Cokes back in those days. And I couldn't afford nothing else. I couldn't bid on the other stuff like TVs and stuff like that. So when it came to bidding on the Coke, I'd call in the radio station, like speed dial, and I go, I'll bid $5 on, my name is Wayne, I bid $5 on a case of Coke. And it goes, Wayne will bid $5 on a case of Coke. And someone would come in there and go, I'll buy it for $7. Okay, fine. I probably did it 15 times. So finally the guy goes, I guess you really want that case of Coke, don't you? I'll tell you what, buddy, we'll just go ahead and give it to you for $5. And I went to school the next day, and one of my teachers goes, man, you realize what that was all about, right? That it was. I said, yeah, I thought it was like a competition thing. They go, no, man.
We're trying to
give them more money. Yeah,
we're trying to give them more money. You're looking for a deal.
Yeah. But that's when I realized I have a unbelievable, healthy fear, or maybe irrational fear of tornadoes. I'm not a Mother Nature, whatever, hurricanes, earthquakes, nothing scares me like a tornado.
I have an irrational fear of calling into radio shows. Now, I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
It was to win tickets to the senior golf tour. There was a point in my life where I knew more people on the senior golf tour than were on the regular golf tour. Guys like Lee Trevino and Chichi Rodriguez. Those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm calling, and I'm always getting a busy signal. And then finally I break through. And, the DJ, he's talking to me, and he calls up and he's like, well, this is such and such. You're the 12th caller. We're looking for the 18th. So I said, hey, let me ask you a question. Every time I'm calling and getting that busy signal, should I just stay on the line to the busy signal, and then will you pick up, after something happens?
Fair question.
Right. I mean, I thought that, it was like a radio thing. So the guy is like, gosh, no. Hang up when you get the busy signal. You don't sit there listening to the busy signal. Now I'm driving. He taped that whole conversation.
Oh, you're kidding. Like you're a dummy.
And plays it for the 1 million people that live in the Albany area, right?
Yeah.
And then for the next hour, people are calling and mocking me. They don't even know who I am.
Oh,
right?
That's
They're
brutal.
talking like, do I have to call back? Everybody is making fun of me. Guy, I gave him a full hour of he didn't have to do anything but answer the phone and listen to people mock. I tell you, Wayne, I wanted to drive into a bridge embankment at one point.
You were just like the first person bullied with social media. Oh man, that's funny.
What was funny was listening to what some people were saying. Can I just pick up the phone? Do I have to dial the number, or just thinking about it? Will that get me to you? Oh yeah. It was like hilarious. Everybody was trying to outdo everybody else, and I said, "Oh man, I am." Now, and I just thought I was talking to the dude, off the record type stuff. And the whole time I'm thinking, when all these people were making fun of me, I'm like, how did everybody know that and not me? How did I not? Like I said, I just thought it was a radio thing, and maybe, stay on while it's, I bet we're going to get a bunch of calls like, are you stupid? Really, Rob? That's what you thought?
All right, lay it on me.
That was a history of my calling in.
Yeah, that'll do it. The only thing worse than having your kids with you in the car when they're like 6 or 8 or 9 years old.
Listening to everybody, hundreds of people trash me.
Yeah. All right, what's the dealio on this vacuum cleanio?
Well, I gotta tell you, man, I used it all week this week. I was doing class down in Florida, and we really have a winner here.
Okay.
It is definitely one of the most versatile pieces of equipment that we have. Um, it's called DCS 50, 13 and a half gallons. Right off the bat, it's a wet dry vac. And I know a bunch of guys are thinking, I'm a wood floor guy. I don't need a wet dry vac. And as soon as I saw that it was wet dry, the first thing that hit me is the Bona prep system,
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?
Yep.
With everybody, we're telling you, you know, when you do the prep system, you spray your prep, you buff it in with a maroon pad. Your next move is to scoop it up with a wet dry vac uh, or the power scrubber. And if you don't have a power scrubber or wet dry vac, most people are using a bucket, towels, half prep, half water, wringing them out and cleaning up the slurry. So when I saw this, that it was a wet dry, the first thought in my head was, holy crap, we got a vacuum system now
Gosh.
that can be used for the prep system.
Yeah.
So I was really pumped about that.
That's pretty slick. Yeah, that is good. I've been asked over the years about this, something like that too. So that's cool. 13 and a half gallons,
13
wet
and a half
dry.
gallons, wet dry.
Okay.
Like I said, to me, the big thing was prep system capabilities.
Okay.
Now, on our big system, we have that purge valve, right?
Yep.
So when you start to get a little bit of that residual dust and all of a sudden the motor's starting to run hotter, but you're sucking less.
Yep.
So we have the purge, okay? And you got to stop, go over, plug it, purge it. And this has an auto purge
No
where
kidding.
you don't have to do a thing to it. It purges itself.
How
The
does it know?
really good part about that is
Mm-hmm.
not only does it purge itself. Now I know there's a couple vacuums out there in the business that purge themselves. You hear that bang bang bang
Yep.
type of a thing.
Yep. Yep.
Well, not only do we have that, but ours also has a timer, so you can adjust when you want it to purge and when you don't. So it's not going off every 15 seconds. You can, extend that out. And I thought, wow,
Wow, that's pretty slick.
that's pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. All right.
Now, here's where it gets cool. It comes with two filters. It comes with a HEPA filter,
Okay.
and then it comes with a regular filter.
Okay.
Because not all jobs are going to
Right.
require a HEPA filter.
Yep.
But then you have those jobs where it's required to have the HEPA filter, but also some jobs are required to have that HEPA filter 99.9 efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call that like an M rating or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
M class. M
I
class.
I thought they were going to call it a W class because I run at that same efficiency.
Yeah.
99.9.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
W,
actually
Wayne.
yeah. That's a great idea that they have the HEPA filter and they have a regular bag filter in there too. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Now to get that, now it also comes with two bags. Okay, it comes
Okay.
with a fleece bag, and it comes with plastic bags. Even the plastic bags has a little zip tie on it,
Okay.
so you can just pouch it up, chuck it.
Wow.
But to get that M rating, which I guess is huge when you're doing lead projects and things like that, to get the M rating, you need to use the HEPA filter and the fleece bag together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. You thought you were going to say that. You know something? We talk about selling and upselling and stuff like that. Even that right there, to be able to say our vacuums, we run a HEPA filter on our vacuum cleaner. You know what I mean? It's just
Yes.
one more thing. It's just one more thing. It's just exactly like the Tampico brush. We use a we employ another system that a lot of guys don't use for extracting the dust out of the soft grain to give a nice beautiful coat. Just that right there will pay for the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
okay, good stuff.
So like I said, comes with the two filters, the two different type of filters, two different types of bags, and that's a really good one for the guys who are, doing lead projects, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, it also can be used without a dust bag.
It's just
So
crazy talk.
you don't need to use a bag at all. You can just, if you
It just goes right into the canister.
right into the canister. So
Wow.
if you're going to go wet, it can go right into the canister. Or if you're going to go wet with something like prep system or something like that, you can use the plastic.
Yeah. So maybe
You
you're on a
can
job.
even do wet HEPA. If
Wow.
wet HEPA is required, you can even go the wet HEPA system with this.
Wow.
I know.
So you're on a job site. It's what do you call it? It's a brand new home, and you're in there edging all day, and maybe you don't need a bag. You know what I mean? Maybe you just
Yeah,
just want to go right into the canister and empty that outside and everything. And
exactly.
that's well, okay. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, so I mean, you really start taking a look at this machine, and it's like you can use this for cleaning out your cellar or working in a hospital.
Hmm.
You got a
Yeah.
lot of versatility there. But
Is how loud is it compared to remember the old Super Vac?
my God, I remember the first time Peter and I got our canister vac. We got
Oh, no, those were
we
brutal,
got the
man.
Sears Craftsman,
Yeah, the
like
red.
30-gallon red. That was louder than the edger. That was louder than the edger in a closet.
I think at some point we've all had bought one of those, and it is the loudest damn thing. It's insane.
It was crazy loud.
Yeah, yeah.
This one, it, you it's 69 decibels.
Okay,
It's pretty quiet.
yeah.
I mean, it's awfully quiet. It's only 69 decibels.
You know, I loved our bonus super vac. Probably more than most people. We've had three or four of them at the same time in my career, and you couldn't kill them. They were great. They lasted a long time. They were a great machine. So this is going to replace that.
This is going to replace that. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that well,
that was in a long
that
time,
old
man.
dog's been around a long time. The
Yeah.
funny part about that?
Hmm.
So many people who use them just had to buy one.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
still
Yep.
using them today.
Oh yeah. There's a ton of them out there.
They are still using them today.
That was a
Absolutely.
great vacuum, man. That was a really good vacuum. So, all right. Well, that's exciting. HEPA filters.
Now they got another cool thing, and I think the first time I saw something like this, I know you're gonna tease me when I say it, but is in the what's that big fancy vacuum tools there? Festool.
Festool. Yeah.
You turn it on. When you turn on your
Hmm.
piece of
Hmm.
equipment, the vacuum turns on.
Yep.
We have that now too. So you can plug chop box in, saws, um, you know, uh, palm sanders, all that stuff. Now, not only does it, you plug the vac in, then you plug the machine, the tool into the vac, and then when you turn it on, your tool, the vac turns on. But the cool part is when you're done, the vacuum runs for like another 30 seconds and it cleans out the hose.
You thought I was going to make fun of you about this? This is one of the best features on the machine so far. I absolutely love that feature. You hook it up to a chop saw, you make your cut, and
Yeah.
it's done. You palm sander and everything. You turn the trigger off, it's done. Can you
Right.
hear it? Can you hear background noise?
Yeah. Like,
Can you hear that? All right. My wife's out there blowing the leaves. I hate to interrupt her, but Chris, I'm gonna go tell her to wait till after dark. Can we stop right here for a minute? Because I hear that it's going on in the background. Hang on.
here's
Sorry about that. I don't like to complain. Let me close that door. Okay, I'm back.
All right, we're good.
Okay.
So you like that auto turn
Oh
off
my gosh, I think
yeah.
that's a phenomenal feature. I love that feature in a vacuum.
So I was working with Frank this week, right?
Okay.
And really wanted to play with the vac. So we started hooking up the edger to it, turn the edger on, the vac comes on. We were doing our buffer. Now you can't hook the power drive up to it, but we were using the vac with the power drive.
Yep.
Because the other thing is the fitting, you don't need a coupling anymore. Our vac fitting fits
Oh, no
right in.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's nice.
So I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome that we can run edgers. You know what I mean? The edge turns on, right? Like a tool.
Yep.
So I'm talking to Zach at product management. And, I had a couple of questions to him about, different, the filters. I really wanted to get, when I'm going to use what filter combo and all that.
Yeah.
And, of course, he's like, I sent that out to everybody already, but I'll send it to you again. I was like, well, yeah, maybe this time I'll read it. Yeah.
Listen, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, what a cool thing that I can plug the buffer in now. And, and he's like, it's not for tools like that. I go, no, I've been running the edger, I've been running the buffer off of it. And he's like, no, it's more for like a chop box or a table saw.
Yeah.
Something that big. He goes, I know it will work, he said, but it's going to put a lot of stress on the board. And he goes, so just try to stick to the hand tools and things like that. And I'm going to tell you what I think about that, Wayne. I feel like sometimes I am the captain of a new nuclear type sub, okay? And we're out there and they're like, don't go past 850 feet. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm that captain who's like, we're going to take her down to 1400. We're going to show these guys exactly what this can do. So don't run edgers and buffers off of it.
It's amazing how we do that in our minds. When I take off my underwear and get ready to get in the shower, there's a laundry basket on the other side of our bathroom. But in order to get in the laundry basket, I can't just throw it directly there because there's a counter there with a bunch of Judy's makeup and different stuff on there. So I had to throw it up high over the top of that and come down. And I missed 7 out of 10 times. It's just a very unbelievably hard shot. But the times that I do it, I'm that captain too. You know what I mean? So I can see how you would compare yourself to a submarine
captain
pilot.
Oh,
because you
that's
take
all
the
we can
power.
do. No, I'm gonna take it way past what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a little of that in all of us, except for the guys at product management.
You've heard the Kenny Rogers song with the kid, the pitcher, the greatest pitcher. You got to. I'm not a Kenny Rogers fan by no stretch of the imagination, but if you got kids or you've ever been a kid in your life, you would really get a kick out of this song. It's a very sweet song. Greatest.
Every time you talk about a new song, it costs me money.
Well, you should thank me. Hang on a second, I'll get it. Okay. The song is called The Greatest, okay? By Kenny Rogers. And believe me, like I said, I am not a Kenny Rogers fan, but everybody can relate to this song. And it's
I have heard it.
Yeah. It's a great song, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Now I know the song you're talking about.
Yes. If you got little kids or whatever, you know.
The Greatest. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, sorry about that.
That's all right.
That is good stuff. I am very excited about this, Rob. I knew it was coming, and I'm super excited about those features, man. The filter system.
We're not done, bud. We still got more to go.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 40 pounds.
Hmm.
It does weigh 40 pounds. got a great handle though. The handle's adjustable, but when you have the handle up high and the set of wheels that they put on it, we always, that's the other, it sounds goofy, but that's the other great part about Bona equipment. We get some bad wheels on our stuff that just make moving things around so much easier. But this handle and wheel assembly on this vac, up and down stairs like nobody's business. We had a guy, now here's why I got a little more insight into it. We had a company at this training who has already bought 3 of these machines. So we're kind of showing it, and then he's kind of telling us, well, and you also have this, and that. So I kind of looked at him, gave him a smirk, and he goes, yeah, we bought 3 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no kidding.
You're kidding me. You didn't buy 1? He goes, nah, we bought 3 of them. And I said, well, what do you think? He goes, oh man. He goes, the guys just love it. He goes, and that's one of the things they really love is how easy they can just whip it upstairs and do stuff when they're moving around, he said. So
when Bona first came out with the buffer with those big wheels on them, the first thing I saw, because it was so out, you never saw buffers with wheels like that before. They were always a small, really small wheels,
small, hard, up the floor wheels. Right.
Exactly. So when I saw Bona buffer with those wheels on it, my first thought was, I think those things are going to get in the way. And that's how dumb I am. And I'm telling you, for going up and down stairs, and for if you buff the floors with this, if you stain the floors with the buffer and everything, that it was one of the best features on that vacuum cleaner or buffer. So I'm glad to hear that about the vacuum cleaner also. That's pretty cool. That sounds like a small thing, but it's not a small thing.
It's not a small thing. Absolutely not. I mean, it's another great part is everything, all the attachments stick someplace on that machine.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to, put them in a bag or anything like that. Everything has a place.
Nice.
And you don't shake, rattle, or roll, or fall off or anything like that. I mean, it's, they really got some thought into this machine. People. That's
cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting mine.
Well, you know what? I mean, this comes on the heel of the power drive, which is a game changer. I think our power scrubber too is that type. We talked about that before. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but that is a phenomenal money making machine. And so the next in line, this being it, I think is huge. I love the fact that you can turn on because here's what happens. You're running the oscillating sander, the Festool against the wall or whatever, your phone rings. You turn it off, but the vacuum's still running. So now at least the vacuum will shut off. Same thing with the running the chop saw in the house and everything. I think that's a fantastic feature. So I'm really intrigued about the filters with the HEPA filter, not being able to use it, not having to use even a bag if you want to. Those are some cool things, man. So that's cool. I'm glad this has been a good education for me.
Well, I'm glad I could help, Wayne.
Well, that's what.
And thanks for that history of vacuums in the beginning. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I didn't want
to
do
your homework, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want this.
We're 5 years into the show. Maybe I'll start doing some homework too.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
I had a kid. I had a kid copy of my homework one time. Where was I? It was in Virginia, Hampton High School, Virginia. I was in 9th grade. I just moved there.
He copied off of you.
Well, he wanted to. This kid was huge. He was a man. I mean, he was talking about rebuilding a 427 motor and everything. I think he must have been, like left 2 grades back. He was massive. And he goes, hey man, let me see your homework. He wanted a copy of my homework. He said, because our teacher goes, all right, you guys need to turn in your homework. And he goes to me, he goes, hey, let me see your homework. I go, no, man, you got to do your own homework. He goes, let me see your homework, Highlander. I said, no. And he goes, I'm about ready to beat your, whatever, and I can't repeat it. let me have your homework. I said, man, I'm not giving you my homework. So he started picking on me. This dude was huge, man. So this dude in the front, I never know, who looked exactly identical to Michael Jackson. The coolest dude, man. He was a good athlete and everything. He came back there and he told the kid, he goes, hey, he was gonna beat him up. But then now I gotta fight him because now, you know what I mean? Now I can't let this guy, you know what I mean? So I stood up, and, long story. Okay. Oh man, we didn't get in a fight because we had a substitute teacher to try to break it up, and somebody knocked the substitute teacher on the ground. Not me, had nothing to do with it. And his glasses fell off, and someone kicked his glasses down the hall. It was a rough school, man. And it's the craziest thing. I don't know. Why did you remind me of that? I don't know why you reminded me of that. But anyhow, there we go. So now we got an education.
You really went to some tough schools. You're like the original blackboard jungle guy.
Yeah, we did go to some tough schools. The toughest was in Ireland. Them kids are no joke over there, man. Them kids there were some tough kids, man. All right, Rob, listen, appreciate it. And that's all you got, right? We're done?
We're done.
We don't have to belabor this anymore. Okay. All right, Rob. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.